Oh, hi there. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. As you can see, I'm a little solo. We've had a 10 or 15 minutes or so. I can see Marcel waiting, but the question is, will it work? Let's try. Let's switch to this. Is it going to work, Marcel?
Is it working? How is it? Is it a little bit?
It's a little bit better.
You've already overspoken over me, so I doubt it's working.
No, I think it's working.
Oh, as long as it's a little bit better, bro.
Yeah. Okay. I think you can let us know in the chat. Good morning. Welcome back to United View, folks. There was a poll in the chat, Marcel. I don't know if you've seen this, and it was who is running 5 minutes late. The options were Owen and Marcel. You won. I'm disappointed I got 39% of the vote, to be honest, because I'm never late. Ever. It's a disgrace. It's a cheat. How dare you? See, that's what and then, so Marcel said he was 5 minutes late, and then he's having internet issues now. This is the trouble, as you can hear. It's like this. Did you hear any of it, Marcel?
Is it jolting still?
Yeah.
Yes, you was accusing me for being late because you're never late, and you I think you've been late once, maybe, but not as late as me. But today is the internet. Today was the internet. I tried to preempt you and pre-warn you, but today was the internet.
It's a disgrace. It's cheat. Anyway, before we get into anything, or we tried to get into anything this morning, as always, this late show is brought to you by Fresh Ego Kid. Fresh Ego FC will be for the third year facilitating their annual Community Giveback for Campaign for Change to provide an essential hamper and gifts to families from low-income, vulnerable, and at-risk families. This year, Fresh Ego FC is partnering with Anthony Joshua's charity Clean Herts Community. This year, especially with global inflation and fuel poverty, those families, along with other families, will struggle to provide the basics this Christmas. Last year, through donations, Fresh Ego FC was able to give back to 120 families. This year, they expect to be supporting more than 350 families. And as always, guys, a really important it's just important this time of the year, really, isn't it? I guess with you see how cold it is outside at the moment, people can't even afford to pay their heating bills or for food or anything like that. So it's a really important cause to get behind. For a bit more information, here's Anthony Joshua.
What's happening, people? I hope you're good. So the festive period is fast approaching, and what I've come to realize is that a lot of people are actually unsure on how to kind of connect with communities and give back. So what I've done is my organization has teamed up with another organization to do some projects where we're going to be doing community work and spending time in communities and doing some give back projects, right? So we want to raise some funds, we want to get some items because it's going to be rolled out across the whole year as well. This ain't just a one-stop shop. So if you want to get involved, follow the link, follow the Instagram page, the social pages for more info, and your help will be appreciated. We'll be there, I'll be there. It'll be a big community day. Don't worry about that, Leaf. And yeah, we appreciate your support fully, yeah? God bless, be safe, and I'll catch up with you all soon.
So yes, a really important cause to get behind in this festive period, guys. If you want to get involved, links in the video description. You can donate, send you to a Just Giving page. Or if you just want to get involved, you want to find out how to get involved, there's an email address there as well. Marcel, a lot of people talking about your new hairstyle this morning as well. I've noticed in the comments saying that, all Elite says, I understand why you were late. Marcel was doing his hair. Kristen says that's not Marcel's Coolio. Josh just says it's disgrace, it's a cheat. Absolutely, yes.
It was the internet. It was the internet. I gave you an early text though, and just saying the internet. It has to do with my hair.
He says
my hair is a weird one.
I tell you now, Marcel is lying when he says an early text, right? Because if you consider early 3 minutes before the show goes live, if that's early, that is a disgrace. That is a cheat. I gave you an early text. How dare you, Marcel? What a disgrace. What a cheat. Let's talk about striker search this morning. And let's talk about Vlahovic. Yes. According to reports out in Italy this morning, Marcel, United are in search of a new striker. And now they're being linked with Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus. sources and reports in Italy suggest that United are planning to make a serious attempt to sign the Juventus forward in the January transfer window amid financial unrest at the Turin club. However, it's not just United that are reportedly interested. Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Chelsea and PSG, among other clubs, are also linked with a move for the 22-year-old striker. Is there any chance we can get Vlahovic in January? Or again, is this just one of these ones that where in an ideal world it would happen, but it might be unlikely?
I think in January is a bit difficult. I think that's a difficult time to get a striker of his quality. I think he's someone that we need to be looking at, though. The club needs to be looking at somebody like Vlahovic, can play back to goal. It's got a lot of elements of forward play that you would want in our team, I think. And overall is a really, really good striker. Obviously, Juventus have got their problems as well. We don't know what's going to happen to their club, whether, they get punished in a certain way and they have to go down the leagues like they've done previously in their history. So there's opportunity to pick up these kind of strikers. My first question would really be is how much is it going to cost? What would the price be around? What ballpark figure is it going to be for someone of his quality? If it's anything over 70, 80 million, I think that's a bit too much to go for in January right now. So maybe he's a summer signing and we need a striker. We know how important it is to get a striker. But if you got Gakpo coming in January, then you don't really need Vlahovic.
Even that's not a given, I don't think, as well, Cody Gakpo anymore. I see this and I go, oh, it would be great. Of course it would be great if we got Vlahovic, because then come the summer, you'd be like, we don't need to get a striker. We've already got one. We've got a young, top quality striker. But at the same time, where on earth is that money going to come from? Where on earth? Even though Juventus might need to sell, and it's a big might because we still don't really know what's going on there, of course. A couple of weeks ago, there was, all of the board of directors resigned, and it would appear that they're going to be in financial trouble with possibly some nefarious things going on that they've been doing with their finances over the last few years or whatever. But even all of those investigations, you would think that's going to take a lot of time to figure out what has or hasn't gone wrong there. And maybe that might be in the summer, those consequences happen. You would think they're probably going to play out the rest of the season and see what happens there. And even if there was a fire sale going on at the Turin club, they'd still want money for Vlahovic. It's not as if they're going to get rid of him on a free or anything like that. And if they are going to get rid of him, United aren't in the position where it's like, oh yeah, we can just 80 million in January or 100 million in January. That's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen for us in January. So I feel like this one's very, very unlikely. I feel like, again, as time goes on, as more time goes on, I feel like it's going to be a case where we're going to have to get a short-term option, unfortunately. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if another club went for him. I mean, those clubs that are linked there, like Arsenal, like Bayern Munich, like Chelsea, like PSG, I could see him going there because they're clubs that at this point in time can spend 80 million on a striker in January if someone that does become available. But United, I know people are going to say, yeah, what about that Ronaldo money? That Ronaldo money saves us like 16 million. That's not enough to buy Vlahovic. That's not enough to get Vlahovic. So I'd be really, really surprised by that one.
I mean, in January, yes, I'll be surprised in January. But I think, come the summer, if you're not getting, we need a world-class striker come the summer. And I think we put ourselves at the front of that queue. I mean, Arsenal have still got, what's his name? Nketiah. And Jesus is only going to miss a few games. So I don't think they'll really want to go in and replace Jesus straight away, even though he is injured. That is true. And then Chelsea, they do need a striker. Chelsea, I think, would be in for it. And same with Bayern Munich. They still need strikers. But I think we need to put ourselves at the front of the queue for this player. He's a top player. And I think we need to put ourselves at the front of the queue. But that's only going to happen during the summer. January is too short of time to get somebody in of his quality for that price, especially with the financial situation that we have. I think Gakpo is someone that we have to be locked in with and hopefully get it over the line.
You know what I'm going to say as well, Marcel, next, and it regards the cat waterfall behind you.
Oh, you can hear the cat waterfall?
The cat waterfall. I can always say the cat waterfall. I can always say the cat waterfall. Marcel's got the most pampered cat in the world in that instead of having just a bowl, it's just a regular bowl for the animal to drink out of, he's got a cat waterfall going on. He's got a water feature.
My mom's laughing as well.
The cat, yeah. It's the most pampered cat I've ever heard of in my life. When I first heard it, I went, "What's that noise?" And he went, "Oh, it's just the water feature for the cat." And I went, "The what?" What a feature for the cat. I was like, I could not believe it. Could not believe it. But to go back to Vlahovic, look, if he's available in the summer, and I was saying this yesterday with Mina, anything's possible come the summer, because Manchester United can look like a completely different prospect in the summer transfer window, because we're going to have, you would think, new owners by then. They're saying Q1 of 2023. We might have, well, certainly we might know who they may be, and then come the summer, that might be the first transfer window under the new owner. So if Vlahovic was available in the summer for 80 million, you could absolutely say United could be right top of that list to spend money to get him. And that would feel like a natural solution to a problem that we have in looking for a big name, world-class striker. Absolutely. But right now, I feel like actually what's quite useful is knowing United's financial situation at the moment. It's very easy to weed out some of these stories that are just like, oh yeah, sure. Like the other day, it was United are going to go big for Benzema, and you go, of course we are, of course we are, and you just go, well, no, we're not, because that's not going to happen. We don't have the money for that. And again, even you, Marcel, would say, come on, that one's maybe a bit far fetched.
Nah, now I'm looking at some of these deals, obviously knowing the financial situation, and I'm saying no way, none of these are going to happen. I've seen some ridiculous ones as well myself, and you just know they're not going to happen now. It's about clever, astute business, and that's all we can really afford to do. And we've got the right manager for it, to be honest with you. Ten Hag knows the Eredivisie well, so you can get cheap and affordable deals or players. And I've got the massive price point, so it's good that we've got Ten Hag as well in a way.
Gavin Doyle says, so have I. Cat fountains are the one, saying that they also have a cat fountain. So, it's not just Marcel. Yes. It's not just Marcel, the house of Marcel that pampers the cat. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. I do want to talk about Cody Gakpo this morning, because there is some competition, by all accounts, for Cody Gakpo in January. And I'm starting to get a bit concerned about it, to be honest, Marcel, because reports suggest today that Manchester United will face competition from Real Madrid for £50 million Netherlands striker, attacker, whatever you want to call him, Cody Gakpo. Of course, Gakpo is impressed at the World Cup, but now it's being reported that whilst Erik ten Hag has made Gakpo his number one transfer target for January, Real Madrid could also be in the conversation. If Madrid are in this conversation, are we in a bit of trouble, Marcel?
Yeah. Financial powerhouse, offering Champions League football every single season, competition for their league as well. I mean, they're in a better, they offered a better project out of the two. But, at the same time, I think they're going to be spending big elsewhere. Their mind right now, most of it is elsewhere in the market in terms of, midfielders and things of that nature, turning over their fantastic midfield. So I think we maybe would offer something a little bit different, and in terms of competition, I think the team that we end up building, can hopefully compete with Real Madrid at some stage. So depends what he wants in his career right now. Does he want somewhere to just go and continue to develop his game, or does he want somewhere with the demand things? And the demand for wing is right now at Real Madrid. Depends where he wants to be, but I think if they do come calling, it does make it a lot more difficult. Similar to the Jude Bellingham thing, I think obviously we price ourselves out because of our financial situation, and then the fact that Real Madrid offering so much more right now, be difficult for us to get hold of him.
Kristen says they've just spent 60 million on Endrick. They have, but he's not coming until 2024. That deal was announced yesterday by Real Madrid. They've signed Endrick from, how do you pronounce the name? Is it Palmeiras?
Palmeiras?
I think it's
Palmeiras.
Yeah. They've from in Brazil, but at the moment he's only 16. So the deal only becomes official in 2024 when he turns 18. So they haven't actually got him for 2 years. It's just the next phase of them signing sort of starlets from Brazil, and they've got a pretty good track record, it must be said. So I know a lot of people said, so much money for a 16-year-old, and it is, but there's clearly a person there at Real Madrid that's got a very good track record. But the point being is that, even if they spend that money now, if they're still looking for a player, they still need it in January, which could be Cody Gakpo. And my concern is when I see that, I go, okay, one, if there's another club in the race, we're in trouble because PSV will escalate the price. And let's be realistic, there's only so high that United can go price-wise in January. And I think even sort of 40 or 50, United are like, that's more than we thought. That's more than we bargained for. It's more than we budgeted for. That might be a problem. Whereas Real Madrid, they're like, we'll pay that, no problem. On top of that, you've also just got, look, Real Madrid, let's face it, is a more attractive proposition than Manchester United right now. You're going to go to a side that's going to compete in La Liga. Obviously, they're not currently top of the league, but there's a good chance they might win the league this season. They won it last season. They won the Champions League last season as well. So you're going to go to a place where you're going to get at least a trophy a year minimum, and you're going to be playing with some other fantastic players. Are you going to be playing every week? That's a question. You maybe not in a Real Madrid side, because obviously the players that they've got and the players they will have in the future. So do you want to go to Madrid and be a squad player, or do you want to go to United and you would think possibly be a starter? I guess the alternative, because you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of both clubs. At United, you would say, well, you've got a manager that's wanted you for a long time, knows you very well. You share the same agent. You're probably going to start a lot of games at United. But again, you're going to be going into a club where you're not going to probably be winning trophies, certainly this season, maybe next season, hopefully, fingers crossed. But you haven't won a trophy in 5 years at United. But you are getting in sort of, you're getting in early, possibly a promising project with new owners in the future as well. So there are pros and cons of it. But I mean, I really, really, really felt like Cody Gakpo not was the answer, but I felt like he was the signing that we were probably going to make in January. And I still do kind of feel that way. But my only concern now is that just as the price keeps creeping, after seeing those sort of numbers that we saw the other day with the financial situation, I'm just like, I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up going with a loan or they went with a really cut price option that wasn't Cody Gakpo. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to believe in that right now, Owen. I mean, I think Ten Hag's a very adamant. I think once he's got his man, he persists with him, and I would like to believe that he will be still pushing for it and making sure that the club get together all the funds that they possibly can to match this price, whatever it is. Again, will be overpriced, and it's because and it's a path that we're following. Once a player deliberate on getting him, and then the price goes up. We need to learn from this mistake. Once Ten Hag has got his man, let's just go into the market and get him. We would have got Anthony ages ago. We would have got Timber ages ago. We would have been getting Gakpo ages ago.
Would we have got Timber ages ago though? Would we have got Timber ages ago? Because that one was more Louis van Gaal directed of, if you go to United and you don't play, you're not going to go to the World Cup.
Yeah, I know. He had a hand in that one, and funny enough, there was a moment where Timber was on the bench, and players that did go to United were playing. So it's a funny predicament that, and that's for Timber to look at and his career and who to trust when taking advice from managers. But okay, that would be a different situation. But the other two definitely are opportunities. If we go into the market quickly, we're saving us out 30, 20, 40 million. So I would, definitely take on Ten Hag's advice, sometimes and listen to him, especially in this rebuilding phase that we're in. We really need to adopt the manager's thinking in terms of what caliber, what type of player, what attributes are they bringing to our team. So I think, I don't want to believe that Gakpo is completely out of opportunity or out of our ballpark in terms of the figure, but I think Ten Hag's going to be persistent. If there's one player that comes in during January, I hope it's going to be two, but if there's one that Ten Hag wants, I believe it's going to be Gakpo, so he'll be pushing for him.
I think it's going to be one. I do, and this was my concern. That from the start is I said I was somewhat confident we could get Cody Gakpo as long as we're the only club that's in for him. But after seeing the World Cup and then just thinking out loud, I suppose it's naive to think we'd be the only club interested in him in January. Like, I think sometimes we forget about that as United fans. Obviously, because we're so focused on United, we don't even consider outside clubs or their interests or their needs in January. Sometimes we act like we're the only team that's going to need to do business in January. All of the top sides in the Premier League will be looking. All of the top sides in the Premier League, and there's only a finite amount of players that are available in January. It's a difficult window to do business in, not impossible, but there's always a pool of players. And I think Ralph Rangnick made this point last year after January, where he said, well, there's a group. Last year it was Diaz, ironically Vlahovic, etc. But they were all available in January. Cody Gakpo is one of these players in this pool this year that's available in January. And clubs that have their attacking needs, whether it's Real Madrid, whether it's Arsenal, whether it's someone like Newcastle, who do have the money to spend, and they're pushing for the top four. They're third at the moment, and they're not even close to their final picture of what their squad should look like. They might look at Cody Gakpo and say, He's available for 50, 40 million. To us, that's nothing. Let's get him. And Newcastle at the moment, I mean, I wouldn't say they're a more attractive proposition than United in terms of winning things. But again, you might look at it and go, I can go there. They're a club that's playing well. I can get a lot of money. And who knows what they're going to look like in a couple of years' time. So my concern always was that if a couple of clubs get involved and then PSV can escalate the price of it, we'll be in a bit of trouble because at the moment, unfortunately, we just can't afford to go that high because of FFP and because of the Glazers, bleeding the club dry, essentially.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they were still in charge for the foreseeable future, and we never thought they were going to leave, then there would be outrage at the moment. We'd be really, really concerned. But fortunately, that's not the case. So whilst it's annoying and concerning for maybe the more immediate future plans, i.e., finishing the top 4 this season. Not that this is an excuse not to do business in January, but if we don't do the best business, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's disgrace, it's a cheat, all this kind of stuff. Because I'll be like, well, the end goal is still hopefully going to be the same, and that the Glazers are going to be gone, by the summer next year. And I'm convinced that we will go big in the summer. We will go smart in the summer. And my just hope is that if we do finish in the top 4, then we could do something really, really good in the summer. It's just about how difficult we're going to make it for ourselves next summer. That's basically the remainder of this season now, essentially.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, to your point, it's so even the valuation of the club might be different the moment we get into that top 4 and Champions League money comes in. I mean, it's a lot riding on, what happens, this season. It affects so much of the business plan for next season, the next summer window, how much we've got to spend then. And I think if they fail and don't invest now in January as best as they can, I think that might be detrimental for us come the end of the season. We haven't even spoken about the right back position. That we need players, quality players in that right back position. So, and that's to just carry us through to the end of this season. As for Gakpo, though, I think there's some good signs, though, Owen. I mean, I think he rejected Southampton and Leeds, during the summer to play for our club or to try and be signed for our club. I think there's the Ruud van Nistelrooy connection there. Somebody that knows the club, knows our club well. So I think there's still some good signs leaning towards Gakpo coming to our club, and I would like to believe that will happen. It's just, obviously summer's a big time for us in terms of what's going to be our transfer plan. Are we going to be able to spend big, and that means being in the Champions League to attract those bigger and better players. So that's very, very important for us. Mm-hmm. And if you see the run of fixtures, Owen, coming up, with us very, very thin squad as it is, it's going to be extremely difficult.
Points to be won, Marcel. Points to be won. Come on.
Points to be won for sure. But it's like, once you reach mid-January, the games get more and more difficult. But definitely points to be won leading up to Christmas around this festive time. Definitely points to be won.
I saw it's not out yet, but there are. I've had an advanced screening of the latest 2 episodes, the next 2 episodes of UV Raw, and the next episode features the behind the scenes of Manchester City versus Manchester United, the derby day. And there is, compelling viewing. It really is, because Flex is driving to the Etihad. He gets on the phone to Marcel and goes, Marcel, give me some positivity. And Marcel's going, Flex, it's going to be 3-2. It's a Man United win, definitely. a Man United win, definitely. Bruno Fernandes has done big performances against 2 big sides this season. He's beaten Liverpool. He's beaten Arsenal. He's going to beat the noisy neighbours now. And then it just cuts to the end. Marcel sitting outside the Etihad going, we're just miles off. We're miles off. And I was thinking the drop off in Marcel's moods. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. So if that's
you don't caught me on Sky. You don't caught me on Sky. My hands folded.
Oh yeah, with the hat on, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So if that's not enough to be a member of the UV Members Club, links to the video description, sort of the pinned comment in the live chat. As I mentioned, it's great. it's really, really great. Well, Ed says, look, Marcel was right. It was 3-2 United in the second half. So maybe.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. Thank you.
Super chat from VK says, "Hi, Owen Marcel. Not to dampen the mood, possibilities that Old Trafford to be sold and Man United leasing it back. Let's not get too excited about new owners come the summer." I'd be very surprised with that, VK. I think that I haven't seen that, so unless there's something breaking while we're live, I would think that the new owners, when they buy United, one of the biggest assets they purchase is the stadium, even though they're going to probably knock it down and build it back up again. But I don't think that would happen. I don't. I think that would be a possibility if the Glazers were staying and they were really, strapped for cash and they would sell the stadium. You get into those kind of situations, but I don't see that happening. Again, for me, the shining light throughout all of this, even if the worst case scenario, we don't sign anyone in January and we're like, we are so thin and we're going to struggle for the remainder of the season, you would say, but still, we're getting sold. We're getting sold. And I understand there should be, and you're right, there should be an element of caution because, as the phrase says, it's the better the devil you know, right, than the devil you don't know. And devil, Manchester United, what a load of puns that are there. But you think in your heart of hearts, can't be worse than the Glazers. It can't be. It can't be.
Exactly that. I think that's the best thing, though, Owen. I think that's the best thing. Even though it took this, it took us to get rock bottom, to hit rock bottom. They're draining everything out of the club. They're leaving. That's got to be a reason to be positive and happy. They're going. And from time, I'm hearing Ten Hag saying, Richard Arnold has told him it's going to happen.
Yeah, and he said money, didn't he? He's told him there's going to be money.
So if that's given Ten Hag something to be happy about for the rebuild and our process, I'm very happy. We're in good hands right now. And if it took this process for the turnover to happen, then so be it. I mean, and we're still managing to just about hover and be competitive for the top 4. It's only going to give us a good platform that is, we're still competing in around the top 4, and we can now go into the market and get good players in, quality players in for our manager. I think I'm very excited about the next 2 and 3 years, the next 2-3 windows. I
mean, also as well, thinking about it, and I'm not trying to justify us not doing business in January because I still do think we can, and I still do think we should. Again, I just don't know at this point if it is going to be Cody Gakpo or not. I'm not sure if it's going to end up like a Memphis or whoever, but people over the years have said, various extreme things. I'd have United not finish in the top half as long as it went the Glazers got out of the club. I'd have United get relegated as long as it meant the Glazers left the club. If we don't get someone in January, but we still are hovering around, just European spaces next season, or for this season rather, and the Glazers are gone, that's a win. That's a win. So. Like I said, I still do think we'll do business in January. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right hand corner. I do want to talk about this shirt sponsor stuff because this was a story that broke late last night. Now, it was reported or put out there that basically we're going to be getting a new shirt sponsor fairly soon. Now, it was released, I think it was like a joint statement from United and TeamViewer saying, after a period of collaborative private discussions over the past months, Manchester United and TeamViewer AG have reached a mutually beneficial agreement under which Manchester United shall have the option to buy back the rights to the club's shirt front sponsorship. Having agreed its sponsorship with TeamViewer at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, Manchester United will be taking the opportunity to commence a focused sales process for a new shirt front partner in a normalized market. Once a new shirt front partner is selected and takes on this role, TeamViewer will continue as a valued member of Manchester United's suite of global partners, providing Manchester United with remote connectivity solutions until the end of original contract term in 2026. So a lot of people spoke about this, and also it must be said, TeamViewer's financial commitments to United remain unchanged whilst they remain the club's shirt front sponsor, after which their financial commitments will reflect their status as a global partner. No further announcement will be made until Manchester United has selected a new partner to replace them on the front of its iconic shirt. So we are going to be getting a new front shirt sponsor at some point. And a lot of reaction to this, Marcel. First of all, it's been widely reported for a while that I don't think TeamViewer were particularly happy with their sponsorship deal with United, and they were actively looking at ways to maybe get out of it or get out of the type of agreement that they had with the club. I mean, also, depending on how you look at that statement, you could argue that maybe United weren't necessarily happy with the agreement that they had because from their point of view, they got this agreement with TeamViewer during the pandemic, and now that we're on this other side of it, they feel that maybe they can get more money. They can get more money when it comes to their sponsors as well. But it is quite interesting that it's not the first time that a front shirt sponsor like TeamViewer, previously it was Chevrolet, have maybe come to the realization that maybe having your brand or name on the front of the United shirt isn't as profitable or a big revenue source as maybe they would have thought.
Yeah. And really quite interesting this sponsorship deal, because I've been reading reports maybe a few months back saying that they didn't have money, or there was some sort of financial issue that they were going through, and that they wouldn't be able to fulfill their sponsorship deal for the long term in terms of paying whatever the premium is for having the shirt sponsor and the advertisement at the front. So it's not too surprising that this potentially could come to an end. But I want to see who the new sponsorship deal would be with then. And is that something that happens at the end of this season, or would this happen in the middle of the season? That's quite peculiar. That's not something that usually happens during the season. You change sponsorship deal. So it would be interesting to see. I've actually got the current new shirt, so I wouldn't want it to change maybe now. But
buy a new one.
Yeah, I don't.
A lot of people are saying that TeamViewer are a lot in debt. They're having financial issues as well, which you've just alluded to, which I think that might be a problem of it as well. And look, I think United might also be thinking again that they got a shirt sponsor at a time in which prices came down because of the pandemic, and now they might think actually we can get a bit more. It's in all of this falling under a time in which the club's actively being shopped out as well is quite interesting too, I think. But at the same time, to your point, it is going to be interesting to see who gets that new sponsorship deal. I mean, at the same time, like again, a lot of people are saying in the chat that TeamViewer are in just basically so much debt that they can't, they can't afford to be basically the sponsor anymore. And United are feeling that they're going to get a new one. But let us know in the chat, who would you like to see sponsor on the front of United shirts? Of course, we've had some iconic names over the years: TeamViewer, Chevrolet, Vodafone for a longest time, AIG before they went out of business.
Sharp TVs.
Sharp, as well. I'm your same age as me, so we grew up in the sort of the Vodafone era. It was a lot of Vodafone. It was the Vodafone era and the AIG era. But I don't know. But I don't know what that will be going forward. A lot of people saying maybe Amazon if they purchase Prime. Amazon Prime, not the drink, but Prime. Christensen, Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. You never know. To be honest, I think it'd be pretty cool, and it won't happen because obviously United is so commercially focused. But it would be pretty cool if we just didn't have one. You know what I mean? You get those sort of plain shirts. I always think back to Barcelona in like the early, just Barcelona sort of early 2000s and beyond, where they just used to have the badge, the brand that made the kit, and nothing else. They used to never have a sponsor, did they? A lot of Spanish teams used to never have a sponsor. I would like that. That would be cool.
What about brand deals?
Apple?
What about brand with clothing line deals as well? I think Jordan and PSG have got something.
Yeah, they've got the Jordan thing, don't they?
An Italian team's got Balenciaga or something. They do have quite interesting with clothing lines and stuff like that. Brand deals.
Yeah. As Ed says, Barca had no sponsor until they had UNICEF in the mid 2000s. Yeah, I remember before that. I mean, I remember when they had, I forget which season it might have been. I think it was 2006, 2007 when United and City had a match at Old Trafford, and it was on. It was one of the Munich air disaster anniversaries, and they played with kits that were completely plain at Old Trafford. Yeah. And I don't know, something a bit like that. Remove the sponsorships, But yeah, let us know in the chat, or if you're watching this after we're live, let us know in the comments. Who would you like to see? So Omar just says, just put Eric Ten Hag. Just put Eric Ten Hag's face, or just put Eric Ten Hag's. It's clear, eh? Or leave it clear, eh? Brilliant, it works. Let's move on and talk about Joao Felix just briefly, because he's been a name, of course, that has been linked to Manchester United. However, reports today are suggesting that actually his preferred move would be to PSG, suggesting that he is holding out for a move in January, but it's not to Manchester United. It's actually to PSG. It was from Gianluca Di Marzio saying that the Portuguese forward is holding out for a move to Paris Saint-Germain rather than the Premier League. What's your thoughts finally on Joao Felix before we move on to something else? Because I know that he was a player you were interested in. You did like the idea of. Is there any chance he could come in January? A possible loan move to permanent?
A loan move is something interesting. I think you was talking, to your point before about different, types of transfer that we could make, and loan is something that we could be looking at. I mean, it's a good option, Owen. I just think that if you're going to spend the 100+ for him, you might as well go for the 80 odd for Vlahovic now. Out of the two, I think
that's the point, isn't it? We wouldn't. We
would.
So I just feel like an obligation.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like we maybe are priced out of this one. This one's maybe a bit too expensive. Again, this is the summer. This is one for the summer. Interesting to find out that he wants PSG. I mean, he's got good connection with the likes of Bruno, Dalot. We've got a few Portuguese players in our team that would know and understand his game. He's been playing well this World Cup with Bruno. And so it would be interesting to have him at the club. Fantastic player. But maybe not. It's just too expensive right now.
And you have to question whether he's I said yesterday to Mina, it was names over needs. It's a very United signing over the last decade, isn't it? We've signed Joao Felix. Why? Because Joao Felix was available, so we signed him. Do we need him? No, but it's just Joao Felix. But when you start getting into the point of, if you said to us, obviously, look, you can either get nobody in January, or you can, actually, let's give a better option than that. You can get a loan that's like an Igalo-esque loan, but he is a striker, or you can get Joao Felix on a loan with an obligation to buy him for 100 million euros in the summer. What would you go for?
I think the loan, it looks like the best move potentially, no?
Well, the Igalo loan?
Temporarily, just temporarily for a little bit, and then you get the proper forward that you're paying for. I think that might just, and with the financial situations, I think the loan is temporary, and then you get your world-class forward and that stays under the 5-year contract. I think that might be better.
What if it was a case whereby you get Joao Felix on loan in January with an obligation to buy him this summer? However, by the summer, you've got new owners, and you have to pay that obligation to get Joao Felix that you did in January. But at the same time, these new owners are like, of course we're going to get a striker, and they spend 100 million on a striker. Then let's say hypothetically it's Victor Osimhen. I'm not saying it is going to be him, but let's say for instance it is, right? Yeah. Then you've got a squad that's got Osimhen, Felix, Bruno, Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho. You go, well, it's not bad.
No, when you put it like that, that's a very attractive offer there. But will owners already have an obligation to spend maybe 100 million and then want to go into the market again and go for anywhere from a 60 to 120 million striker again? I mean, you're building a proper team, by the way. So I agree. I mean, if you're ambitious, you're building a proper team now. You're looking at quality players in quantity of that as well. So I agree with you. It's a good look at it, but who's going to be happy to set aside 7 to 8 billion? How much is it billion for the club, or how much is going to be, and then have to go and spend 100 to 300 million on your obligation for Joao Felix, and then an extra 60, 70, 80 if it's Osimhen, then 60, 70, 80 on a proper forward. I think it's just a lot to offload without no return yet.
I agree. I think it would be. I'd be. We're not used to that level of ambition for United. So, but the point being is that look, this is what I keep saying about the summer is it's really difficult to talk about the summer at the moment because we just don't know. We really don't know because we've never been. Give them the sirens going off because they know it would be a steal if that happened. But I'm telling you, when it comes to the summer and all that kind of stuff, it's difficult to say. It is difficult to say because. We've always said if we've had owners that actually invested money into the club, FFP, it's a joke, but United, it wouldn't be a conversation. It wouldn't. It wouldn't be a conversation. I don't think people truly realize the spending power that United have if they're managed correctly. So, Joao Felix, I think that one is going to be unlikely. I do want to talk about this. We've got to talk about the youth players. Kobbie Mainoo, he actually trained with the Manchester United first team yesterday, and it's understood that Mainoo is highly regarded among academy staff, and he's considered the leading light of his age group at the club. Is that the kind of news you like to hear? You were raving about Kobbie in the couple of friendlies that we watched. Are you happy to hear that he's training with the first team?
Yeah, thank you for the segue. Fantastic player, man, and young, looks like one of those players that is hungry, can play anywhere through the middle. Had a little cameo in the 10, had a little cameo in the 6 as well. Good player. Him and Zidane, I think, are the two that we really need to come into form now and to start contributing 10 minutes. 15 minutes, 20 minutes here. I was talking about Phil Foden's progression, when I was talking about Kobe and Zidane, in the sense that, Phil Foden didn't go anywhere on loan, but was always getting, those 15-minute cameos, 10-minute cameos, 20-minute cameos in cup games, in lesser, for want of a better word, Premier League fixtures. We've got a game against Burnley coming up. I should be seeing, the likes of Kobe, the likes of Zidane, getting just 15, 10-minute cameos, even a half if it has to be, just so that they can, get a feel for the players around them, understand the players around them, be coached into games by the likes of Casemiro, Bruno, Eriksson, and they can pick up and learn so much about the game from those players. We're looking for midfielders, but there's an opportunity and there's a vacancy for one or two of the younger ones to really push on and develop just by being around, training with the first team, playing with the first team. And Kobe looks like one of them. He already looks massive, by the way, Owen. He already looks like a big fella for such a young age. And I'm very happy to see his progress. And I want to see him hopefully this season, one or two more. Garnacho's come through, but we need to see Kobe or Zidane coming through as well.
I agree with Zidane Iqbal. I was actually really impressed with him in the two friendlies that we watched, and there really was not a lot to be impressed by. They were shocking games, and they were really poor games to watch. But I thought Zidane Iqbal was a rare shining light in those ones. And I understand what KG was saying, particularly in the last one, going, so what are you going to do? You're going to play him in the Premier League? And you said, well, not necessarily, but we've got a game in less than a week against Burnley at Old Trafford that a lot of people aren't going to be available for. Some are. Those in the quarterfinal, that going out in the quarterfinals, I think are expected back just after that. But why can't Zidane Iqbal play against Burnley in the Carabao Cup? I think he's good enough. He was standing out on that pitch. We're playing with some senior players that were playing rubbish, and he looked far better than them. And the thing is, this is the thing with academy players is, look, I understand the majority of them aren't ready. That's why you play them in friendlies like that, and you go, well, clearly most of them are way off it. But you do see one or two that you think, actually, they're a bit closer than I thought, actually. Pre-season, Zidane Iqbal did well. You go, okay, that's just pre-season, though. And you see it in a mid-season friend. You go, he still did well. You go, well, maybe there is something a little bit there. I'm not saying he's going to start every Premier League game. And I'm not even really saying he could be an option off the bench in the Premier League game. But I'm saying in games like the Carabao Cup, play him and see what happens. See what happens. And if they're off it, they're off it. Then you know. And then you go, wow, he does need a loan. Kobe Mainoo, I still think he's really young. How is he, like 17 or something like that? I think.
Yeah, young. He's young.
So I would still be like first team for him. That might be a bit of a, even a Carabao Cup one, you might say maybe like bring him on if you're winning in the second half or something like that. One of those ones. But someone like Zidane Iqbal, I thought he was really, his feet are really, really tight. Remember, he won the penalty against Cadiz, skipping through the defense. Again, he was doing more than senior players were doing. So I think absolutely he should deserve a go in the Carabao Cup. And then, you never know, do you? Then it's upon the young players to take their opportunities or, stand out like a Garnacho has this season. And then suddenly it's very interesting is how quickly perception on a player can change, because Zidane Iqbal has a couple of cameo appearances that go really, really well. And now he scores some winning goals. You're like, oh, first team player. It's a first team player. It's cliche to say he's like a new signing, but he really is, isn't it? We've got a new left winger that can absolutely compete. Now, I'm not going to say that Zidane Iqbal can be the same, but I think he deserves an opportunity. I think his performances in preseason and in this mid-season period, I think he deserves an opportunity because of that. So we'll see what happens with him. Kobe Mainoo, I think at the moment, to your point, Marcel, might just be about exposing him to that sort of first team environment, and maybe as the season progresses, he might play in some games. I'm not sure when or where, or maybe you bring him on if you're 3 or 4-0 up. Then you bring him on for 5 minutes. The problem is that United don't find themselves in that position that often. Yeah. It used to be under Sir Alex, didn't it? That you'd find yourself 3-0 up, and then you'd be like, right, 10 minutes, I'll bring you on, sit and see what happens. But United don't find themselves like that.
True. Good point. And but I've heard you say it before on watch-alongs, and I think it's a principle that Man United should always have. If you're good enough, you're old enough. So, yes, I agree with Kobe, a bit too young, but Zidane, throw him in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, give him the opportunity to thrive in the environment, like to your point as well, it's they need to be exposed to this kind of, 74,000, demanding for wins, and I know the demand is unlike, youth level in terms of the first team level. The demand to win is astronomically higher, but he needs to get more comfortable in that environment. Zidane, I think, is ready. I think Zidane's ready, and little games. And by the way, the games are coming thick and fast. Every 3 days, every 4 days, the turnover of players is going to be crazy. You need a younger player to shorten the game time for Eriksen. Eriksen starts to fade after the 80th minute, after the 75th minute. You need someone to come on, fresh legs to do the dynamic running for the defensive side of the game. And I think, the likes of a Kobe, the likes of a Zidane, who can do a little bit of both, is perfect for that. I think Zidane at some stage goes ahead of, one of those players like a Fred or something like that. He needs to be the creative outlet, and we need that kind of player on the pitch more than the dynamic running and pressing and closing that Fred gives you sometimes. So, there's opportunity for Zidane to be used part of the squad in specific games this season.
Finally, Dilver says this, and I'm not bringing this up just because of the Donny van der agenda, right? But I think it's a legitimate point. He says Zidane over Donny for sure. You know what, Marcel? I'm going to do a bit of a Marcel this morning, a bit of a madness. I saw more, and Donny played in that. Did he play in both friendlies? He did, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
I played or did he play in just the first one?
He had first half of the second game.
He played in 45 in Cadiz, and then he didn't even play against Betis, did he? Because he had to pull out.
Didn't play.
Yeah, because he got replaced, didn't he? Just before.
I'll be honest with you, Owen. He's so ghost. I can't remember his.
This is my point. I saw more in 45 minutes in that Cadiz game from Zidane Iqbal than I have seen from Donny all season. And that's including him playing games. I saw more from Zidane Iqbal in 45 minutes in a friendly than I have seen from Donny all season. And I know people can say, it's agendas, all that kind of stuff. But I do feel at this point, and this isn't, I told you so, because I hate point scoring, all that kind of stuff. But I do feel like more and more people are coming to this conclusion at the moment where they're saying, like, what is he doing? And it doesn't come from a place of like not liking him or hating him. You're full of hate, Owen. It's just come from, I want to see him do something. I want to see him do something. And Zidane Iqbal in that 45 minutes against Cadiz, when the ball wasn't coming to him, he went, I'm going to go get the ball. And he won a penalty by getting the ball and then playing a 1-2 with Martial and getting into the box. That's what I want to see from Donny. That's what I want to see him do. And it's always ironic, isn't it, with Donny? Because he gets into great spaces. Those spaces always happen to be away from the ball and really miles away from the ball where he can't get it. You know what I mean? When's it getting into spaces and when is it running away from the ball? So I don't know. Who would you rather have? Who would you rather play at this point, Donny or Zidane Iqbal?
It has to be Zidane. But I feel
maybe
like
I am wrong. If Marcel saying Zidane, maybe I am wrong.
No, but I agree with you. But I just feel like Donny's being used almost to push. For me, I was saying anyway, the only benefit I can see is to push Bruno, to get more out of Bruno, because Donny takes Bruno's position in the 10 and then Bruno has to get shepherded out wide. And that can only be, a sign from the manager to Bruno, as if, you need to step up your game. Sometimes you are off form. And there has been times during the season where Bruno's not looking right in the 10. And, you have to freshen it up and ask questions of his game and ask him to raise his game. And then bringing Donny into the 10 area, it helps, I would say, in a way. But yeah, you're right. Donny hasn't done anything. So at some stage, he has to be moved on. And I think that's the direction we look like we're heading down at the moment. I'm still giving it time. I'm still going to look to see what happens in the summer. But it looks like he's because he just can't get involved in the game. I've only seen him be at the back post once in a Europa League game where he had a half chance at the back post from a cross. I think it was from Bruno. And that was it. That's all he's really contributed. A lot of the times he's not available in games. He's not around. So I think it's a matter of time before he leaves.
I think, I think he's got 6 months. I think he's got 6 months to prove it, to keep hold basically of his United future, and I'd be really, really surprised if that was the case. To be honest, I just don't see it at this point. Especially like I said, I think in the summer we'll go big, and I wonder what happens to his spot there. But there you go, guys. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Plenty of UV content on the horizon and coming in the future. Tomorrow is the third place playoff for the World Cup. It's Croatia versus Morocco. So I'll be covering that one live. And then, of course, Sunday, it's the World Cup final. It's Argentina versus France. It's Messi versus Mbappe. It's Varane versus Martinez. A Manchester United player will be lifting the World Cup. But who's it going to be? We'll find out Sunday. Anyway, guys, we're out of here. We'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.